Here we go. All right. We already started your bet?
I had 6:14.
Oh, okay. All right, cool. What are the words of a murderer?
Am I your brother? Am I your brother? I was Rabbi, what's his name? Used to say that. Like if someone would say, where, like, the
Yeah.
rabbi would ask it, like you would say, where's so-and-so? And so the kid would have that.
Shomer achihi, you know. And he's a.
Those were the words of a murderer.
It's true. I'm not sure he knew he was murdering, but that's for another discussion, right?
We should all swear. Baruch Hashem, they're shifting.
Yeah.
At Gush, their perspectives.
Yes.
You know, Rick was not free.
No.
That.
Yeah. Just wrong. Well, there were a lot of commentaries, by the way, that they never teach you that say that she was 12 or 13. You just weren't taught them.
Right.
It's not like Gush is the people there, that I'd Herzog are the first people to discover Yitzchak Eshalom. There have been people that lived 1,000 years ago that said the same thing. For some reason, it wasn't popular, you know, which is very interesting. A lot of the stuff they've come up with has been said, but not mainstream, not Sforno or Barbanel or even Ezra. So it just didn't, you know, didn't get in our notebooks. Interesting, right? Anyway, all right, Shmuel. Anyway, so we were just saying how in this week's Parsha, it's funny how we were talking about the rules of a king, right? So everyone, a lot of people that spoke, or a lot of the Parsha sheets we read actually referred to the stuff that we discussed ad nauseum, right? In June, because the people come, Bnei Israel come to Shmuel, who was a very successful, awesome leader, prophet, and they ask for a king, and he gets all bent out of shape, right? He's really insulted by this. And I kind of wanted to give this lecture to Rabbi Klayman and to all the people that were talking about the ills of having a king, that not only did we read in Zvarim that you're going to ask for a king, it's not clear. Is it better? Is it, okay, I'll give in to you? But the truth is if you think about it, let me just remind you of the fighting points. What was Yaakov's bracha to Yehuda on his deathbed?
He's going to be the leader.
Lo yasor me'shevet Yehuda, right? The kings are going to come from you, right? If you even think about the Rashi, okay, this wasn't even in the essay that I read from Avnon Bazak, but if you think about the Rashi of the Miyaldot, of the nursemaids, Yocheved and Miriam, right? And as a reward, it said that kings were going to come from you also. So it's not inherently a bad thing. So the fact that everyone just goes crazy and says it was a bad thing, it's a bad thing to ask for a king, it means you're lacking in faith, that you don't believe in Hashem, I don't buy it. I don't buy it. I really don't. You can buy it, and it doesn't matter. We're allowed to ask for things that aren't perfect anyway, and just make the best of it that we can. But I don't think inherently it's a terrible thing if you go about it the right way, right? Also, everyone went crazy saying, it's because they said Kachol Hagoyim. So it's not bad to ask for a king, but because you phrase that we want a king like all the other Goyim, like the nations, that's a big thing. No, why do you have to pick on us? What is it? Why is it bad? There was no other reference to a king. Everyone but us are Goyim. So how are you going to explain what you're asking for? You have to say, I want a king like the other nations have. Why? Are you with me on this? Like, I feel if you want to pick on Bnei Israel and say that what we asked was bad, okay, but why? Why can't we just say, but right, are you kind of with me with this? Because you don't have to be. I would love to hear your opinions, but for me, I think it's really picking on, it's minutia, and it's not correct. Like, what's the big deal? What's the big deal? I want, right? Like, I want those beautiful flowers like I saw at Princess Di and Charles's wedding. Does that mean I want to be a guy? No, it means they were beautiful flowers. And how else am I going to reference it to you without telling you there's no other model of a king? So I don't know why it's bad. I just don't get it.
Because maybe it's a message to be an independent thinker.
You can't be an independent thinker when we're just starting out as a nation. Like you're brand new at this.
Maybe our leadership has to be independent thinkers. You know, I'm on that kick.
You're so cute. Okay, fine.
You know what?
But it's still new.
When you're asked, who do you go to for halacha, maybe you should say, no, I have my innate human
Mhm.
experience,
Mhm.
and then I'm gonna follow people who have done good things.
Right, right.
So bad that.
Exactly.
So maybe it is. Maybe Hashem is teaching us there is a message there.
Right,
Don't
right.
be like everyone else. Be
That's
independent.
right,
Well, like if you were to say to your husband, why can't you buy me earrings like she has?
right.
That implies like.
A little jealousy.
jealousy,
Yeah.
you know, like.
Right.
Oh, her husband buys her earrings.
Ah.
You know, so-
No, well, why can't you buy me earrings like she has that she bought for herself with her money? Yeah, right, right.
But it might imply a little jealousy.
I don't care.
Yeah, or that you just want to be like them. It for sure. Look, I don't think I'm smarter than everybody else, and that's what they're reading when they read that. But I'm trying, I guess, to be a little bit of a rebel, and I'm also a defense attorney by trade for 32 years, and it's really it happens to be my default to defend. It really is. And to me, I'm like, okay, who cares? I'll tell you something else, and we discussed this, if anyone remembers, back in May, June, but there was a lot of the tribes were not unified.
Right.
Do you remember? And this was a huge problem, right? Back to my song. Lama yashavta yashavta ben hamishpatayim liflagot reuven gidorim chekrelev, right? When Devorah went to war and she's trying to get the Shvatim to help her fight, they didn't come and fight, right? Only a few did. And then when she does her Shirat Zvorah at the end, it was the Miami Boys Choir 1,000 years ago. They sang that song. And she's like, you guys, you didn't come when the tribes, they weren't unified. So we needed a king to make us all, and it's always going to be a balance throughout Nach. It's always going to be trying to balance one nation and 12 tribes. You know, everyone wants to have their own identity, but under the bigger picture of a nation. And right now we were very divisive, right? We really were not unified. And that was another reason why they needed a king. So none of this sounds inherently terrible to me personally. And that's what I was thinking all Shabbos when I'm hearing everybody talking and picking on Bnei Israel for asking for a king in this time. This is the first time that we're asking for a king. Okay, anyway, so now, I don't expect anyone to remember, but in chapter 11, in Perek Yud Aleph, the last thing we saw is we went to war. Shaul, right, fought against, anyone remember? What? Look in your notes. Remember, they came and they threatened Yavesh Gilad, and right, and they came to Shaul, and he was victorious, and then right, and he, right, okay. So this was a very, very successful first opportunity for Shaul, right? And I'm just going to read to you this one pasuk after the big victory, right? After the big victory, I'm reading you this pasuk just so you have it in back of your head. Actually, you know what? I'm not going to bother reading it now because there's no way we're going to get to its parallel today. I don't think so. All right. So I'm going to read it to you. In Pasuk Yud Gimel, Shmuel Aleph, Perek Yud Aleph, Pasuk Yud Gimel, after the big victory, right, of Shaul, Vayomer Shaul, oh, here, look at Yud Bet. Look at Yud Bet. Vayomer Ha'amel Shmuel. Mi ha'omer Shaul yimloch aleinu, for the naysayers, for the people that said, what? Shaul is going to be the king over us, right? Like, who the heck is he? What? Yichus says, who is he? He's such a nobody. For those people that said that, because everyone's all pumped because they just had this huge victory, right? So they say, Tnu anashim v'ni nitem. Give us those people and let's kill them right now, those naysayers, right? Vayomer Shaul lo yamud ish bayom hazeh ki hayom asah Hashem teshuah b'Yisrael. Shaul says, no way, I'm not going to taint this fabulous day with killing anybody. I'm too big for that. It's okay. I'm going to win over these naysayers, right? And he's very big about this. And then he says, okay, now that's what I want you to remember, because when we get to Perek Yud Gimel Yud Daled, I don't know what I was thinking when I thought for 1 second we were going to get to that today. It's a great Perek. There's going to be an exact scenario where Shaul, shocking, wants to kill somebody, even after a huge victory. He's so fickle that it's crazy. And I think the author here is for sure highlighting this pasuk to compare and contrast it when there's a very similar parallel situation after the next victory, when somebody comes, okay, and so we'll just go on record to remember this, and I'll remind you if you don't. Is everything good? What are you looking at? Awesome. Okay, so just to finish off that pasuk and the parak Vayomer Shmuel hala'am. So now Shmuel says, Lechu v'ne'alcha ha'gilgal v'nechadei sham hamlucha. Okay, Shmuel says, all right, everybody, everyone's in a great mood. Let's go to Gilgal. Why Gilgal? Place of the first Mishkan. Let's go to the place of the first Mishkan and let us now anoint Shaul, because he has not been anointed king yet. Okay. And they all went to Gilgal and they made Shaul king, and they did all these korbanot, and Shaul and the people were very happy. Okay. Perek Yud Bet, chapter 12. Vayomer Shmuel, talk to me.
No, am I wrong?
You are correct. Thank you. What you're referring to is that people, kings that were anointed from Shevet Yehuda, were anointed with the Kon, the Keren, Shemen, right? And kings that were anointed not from Shevet Yehuda just had oil, but not from that
Karen,
right. And as you see, there was none here. No, there was none here. There was none here. Yeah, but there was yeah. So you'll see, like when the kingdom splits, right after Shlomo, in the days of his son Rechavam and Yeravam, when the kingdom splits, you'll see that all the kings in the northern kingdom, they're all anointed.
Right.
But none, all with oil, but not with the Karen, versus the ones in Yehuda are. Okay, happens to be very interesting. We're going to get to this over and over again, this recurring theme, but it's fresh in my head that division of the Melucha there were hints of this going on starting from very soon, very, very soon. Like after Shaul's done and David is like just on the cusp of taking over, and Shaul has a son, Ishbosheth, that's going to be king for a very short amount of time. But you already see it seems like from the beginning, it was never going to be one big happy family. It does seem like, if you're really a good detective, that it wasn't just, with the Rechavam, with Shlomo's son that messed up with the taxes and asking the wrong people for advice, just such a good lesson. This is fresh in my head just because of a shiur I went to at the Yemei Yun. But Rechavam, Shlomo's son, he asks his advisors, so he has two sets of advisors. He has the old timers that were his fathers, and then he has the millennials. Sorry, not you. There are exceptions, Baruch Hashem. Then he has the younger people, and he goes with the younger people. And there's so much. I mean, this is, by the way, this is my therapist for the last 30 years. My kids owe their life to her. They would have been killed. But anyway, but there is so much value. I was pointing at Tammy Cohn Ellen, if you didn't see. Okay, anyway, there's so much value to youth. We love youth, we do. And, they bring so much. I sit on boards with a lot of young people, but at the end of the day, you do need the older maturity and experience, and you need it. And unfortunately, Rechavam went with the young people. Yeah. And that was a big problem, because they're like, huh? Very little though, very little, like hardly even on the radar, right? Hardly. But anyway, it's just very interesting. Anyway, Shmuel. Vayomer Shmuel al Kol Yisrael. here comes Shmuel's speech, okay? His speech is divided into 3 parts. He's very wordy, and he's very wordy, and you're going to see also there are a few problematic expressions that are going on through his speech. He repeats himself a little bit, and it's very interesting. And Amnon Bazak discusses that he feels that the narrator left the speech this way, not the narrator, the author left it this way with a little bit of the problems. Like we'll read the words through it to show that this wasn't something he worked on and edited. This was really like spontaneous and emotional. And it helps us understand what he was experiencing at the time of giving the speech, and that's why they left it with some of the, I don't want to say mistakes, but imperfections. Isn't that interesting? It's very interesting. Anyway, so his speech, that's okay, Els. I should take, it's okay, it's okay. Oh, at least you're sitting near each other. It's for Ellen, it's us, no one cares. Anyway, so the 3 parts of his speech are, first, he's going to discuss, and this is Monica, this is the part that's similar to Moshe. He's going to say that I had no personal gains. Moshe does the exact same thing. And then he's going to admonish us for asking for a king, which he's done over and over again. So he's going to do it one more time. And then he's going to give us a little chizuk, a little guidance for the future. Okay, so let's quickly read through the text. So I heard you and I gave you a king. He's getting, and now behold, the king is walking before you. I become old and my sons are here with you. Who feels that shtuch that he's saying my sons are here with you? Because we rejected his sons and we didn't want it, but he has to get it in one more time. That just in case you didn't see them. Also, by the way, I'd like to go on record to say that Shmuel was really not old. I'm not 100% confident that the timeline that they give us is accurate, but if it is, he's in his 50s. He's really not old. And some of the, what, Jill? He's not old. He's really not old, but it could be that he just was exhausted. Remember, he was a circuit judge and he traveled up and down the country all the time. Maybe he was old. Some of the nerdier commentaries say that he was made to look old just to make it easier, that they were forcing him into retirement. They did that in the Haggadah, remember, with the Nasi to look old. So some of the commentaries say they made him look old, but if you really want to be honest, he was not that old, considering Moshe lived 120 years. He's really just in his 50s, because we know when he was born, and anyway. And I've been serving you from my youth until this day. Anu bi neged Hashem v'neged mishicho et shor milakachti. Okay, and again, right? This is so famous, right? I didn't take any. Whose ox did I take, right? Milakachti v'chamor milakachti ve'edmei ashakti ve'edmei ratzot. And he goes on and on and on, and he's saying this. And I just want to explain this to you, Evelyn, in today's speak. What he's saying is, when he's saying, I didn't take anyone's ox and I didn't take anyone's donkey, what he's saying is, I didn't even write off the gas for my traveling to and from work. Nope, that's exactly what he's saying.
Well, I walked, so not applicable for me today.
Right, but for people that are allowed to write off gas when they're going to and from work, right? He's saying, I was so careful. I was so medactic with my spending. I don't want anyone to have any tainas against me, any gripes against me, that I took anybody's money. I didn't even write off. I'm serious. This is not Lisa. This is really, I didn't even write off the gas in my car. So no one could ever be suspect that I mingled, right? It's very powerful. And you just have to put it in today's speak to right? But afilu, it's not even that he wasn't corrupt, Jill. Afilu, like, lifnei Misharat Hazin, right? People that work at home, they can write off certain things. No, I don't want to go there. I don't want the IRA. I don't want anyone auditing me, anything. I'm just keeping this so kosher, right? And that's kind of what he's saying. And it's very commendable. And there wouldn't have been anything wrong had he had done it because he was using it for work, not for personal, but nevertheless. Okay. Vayomru, and he's going on and on. Oh, so they respond to him. So Bnei Israel responds, Lo ashaktanu velo ritzotanu velo lakachta miyad ishmuma. Yes, you didn't do anything bad to us. You didn't oppress us. You didn't take anything. And he continues, Vayomer Alehem, Eid Hashem, Hashem should be a witness bachem, Ve'eid Meshicho hayom hazeh ki lo mitzuetem biyadi muma Vayomer Eid. You're never going to find anything that I did wrong. And then he's going to go on a little bit of a history thing. Vayomer Shmuel Am Hashem asher set Moshe ve'et Aaron v'asher ala et abotecha me'eretz Mitzrayim. So he's saying Hashem is the one, even with all these amazing leaders that we've had, and he brings up Yaakov and Mitzrayim, and then we call to Hashem when we were in Mitzrayim, when we were servants, and Hashem sent Moshe to take us out, right? And then he's going through Sisra, Sartzva, Chatz, right? Sisra, who is the enemy? Who were the Shoftim? Devorah, very good, and Barak, we'll give him a shout out, right? So he's going through highlights of where they were amazing leaders, but Hashem still was the one that did it. You understand what the point of this speech is? Even if you have great leaders, it's still Hashem. It's not the great leaders, lest you get confused, right? So it's Hashem. Right? So he goes through that cycle. Here comes a little bit of a problem in his speech. Vayishlach Hashem et Yerubal. Who is Yerubal? Well, he was renamed Gidon. Thank you. Excellent. He was named Gidon. And let's just for fun's sake and for trivia's sake, just so we're geniuses. What did Yerubal, what did he do to his father's pesels? What's the English word? Idols. He broke them. He broke them. And what story is famous in Parsha Lech Lecha, a midrash, Avraham? That's cut and paste from that story. Do you know that? It's a cut and paste from that story, right? Because we never see that story where Avraham breaks his father's idols, right? We never see it. It's a midrash. Kids think it's actually written there until they get older and you ask them to find it and they can't. It's actually cut and paste from the Yerubal story who did that with his fathers. And Chazal never thought in a million years that people would actually think that the story happened. They were just trying to, thanks for giggling. They just wanted to give us like little Navi lessons every now and then, and just to keep the Navi stories alive. And they assumed we were all geniuses and knew everything, and we'd be able to cross-reference stories back and forth. In a million years, they never thought that smart people would actually think that it happened. And they would recognize.
Then it went out of favor because it became.
Oh, you're awesome. No, that was Lior Gottlieb. That was a Lior Gottlieb shield. That was Miffy Boshet and Ish Boshet, and that wasn't Yerubal. but it is the same talk, Monica, because he said, why do people call their kids Baal or whatever, but not him, not Yerubal, because that predated it. But then fast forward in the days of
but he did
yes.
That it was crazy that they people are horrified that they use Baal in it, but it's hitting the Baal.
Right, exactly.
And it became out of favor, like putting flowers on a grave.
Exactly.
Exactly.
That's true. That's true. And Lama he lakcha otam. What Zahara is saying is that Rachel stole her father's idols when she ran away. When she ran away, when they left with Yaakov, ran away with Yaakov, right? So she took them. So people say the reason she took them is because she had a little bit of faith and she thought that they were going to help with her fertility, right? So she wasn't 100%, right? Okay. Oh, yeah. Oh, you're so cute. So in elementary school, they teach you that she's Rachel Imenu, and it's like, oh, I can't. Oh, yeah. Sorry.
No, I love it.
I know,
Every day.
I know.
Why we need to learn for the book.
Right, exactly. Right, but they taught us that because she didn't want her father to be, but you understand, so let's just knead this out a little bit. Why? It's an excellent answer in elementary school, right? Because she doesn't want her father, but let's be grown-ups for 2 seconds. What happens if she takes them away? What could he do?
Get new ones.
Get new ones. Just go to Bloomingdale's and pick up new ones. I mean, like really, the Bloomingdale's of Haran and get new ones. What were you going to accomplish? Right. So yeah, so it could just be that she took him to help her for, and by the way, no different than the Dudaim, no different than that, right? That they were fighting over for fertility. Right. Also, by the way, okay, the idols clearly doesn't work, but Dudaim, it's really holistic medicine, I mean, why not help yourself? Why is that chaser emunah? Like, why are you lacking in faith if you're going and getting some herbs and trying to make yourself more fertile? I don't know. I think Hashem would yell at you if you didn't go and do that. So it all depends on what glasses you're wearing, right? And that's a huge, huge balance also. Lismoch al hanes or hishtadlut. Do we count on the miracle or do we assert ourselves? I mean, that's something that we balance with every day. We're constantly, God will take care of it, or freaking get up and do something about it. I don't know. It's a balance every single day, I think, almost, often. Yeah? Okay, back to Shmuel. Oh, so Yerubal, we so digress, but so fun. And we need to do this because we need to right? So he's going to highlight now some leaders. And this list is very short and weird. So at Yerubal, and then the Et Bidan. Has anyone here heard of Bidan? No, the only time we heard of it, because we covered it a few months ago. We did mention it. Thanks, Monica. We covered it a few months ago. When we covered it, Judy, we covered it when we were doing the introduction to Shoftim, and we were trying to discuss, Tali, I think I even discussed this with your mother. We were trying to discuss how long the Shoftim period was, because did they all really one after the other, or were some of the Shoftim here simultaneously with other Shoftim there? Because the count, the old-fashioned count, it just doesn't work. Was the Shoftim period 400 years? Doesn't make sense. But if you do it that way, it has to be. So it's, remember, we did this and then we decided probably, and then El Ziegler came in and she also gave us a different opinion of how to do the count, that they did, which is why you needed a king, because we needed to unify. We needed one leader, because here the show, right? Anyway, so this Bidan person, we said, sure, maybe he was a shofet that just didn't make it to the count. Because what did we want ultimately, according to Michael Hatin, whose book I was using? Ultimately, we wanted 12, right? One for each shevet, and he wanted everything nice and packaged and right, interesting. So this Bidan guy, who the heck's this Bidan guy? And if you remember, we said, one of the commentaries, they're so clever. I don't think you're supposed to take it seriously though, or literally, but he said, Bidan, it must be referring to Shimshon, because Shimshon came from Shevet Dan. Really? They couldn't just write Shimshon. Also, by the way, that's one other thing. He wanted one shofet from each Shevet. That was another reason why, for that nice number 12, why they only listed us 12 in Sefer Shoftim, when in fact there must have been many more. Yes, this is all a little bit familiar. Yeah, okay, good. Anyway, so that's one of the things. That's one of the things that Bidan said. Someone also said that Bidan is Avdon ben Hillel, who was mentioned in between Yiftach and Shoftim, but chronologically it doesn't make any sense, because if he's listing them right now, if he's listing these guys in chronological order, then this wouldn't make any sense. We might be dealing with a shofet who was not known to us from the book of Shoftim, right? The name Bidan, because the name Bidan was mentioned in Divrei Hayamim, by the way. So it really is a real name. It's not like from Shevet Dan. It's a real name. And I remember doing this with all of you. Should we find the name? Why not? Divrei Hayamim 7:17. Ellen's here. She can do this for me. Yeah, Ellen, you weren't here at the end. I had to look up all my things all by myself. Here, Ubnei Ulam Bidan, Ela b'nei Gilad ben Mechir ben Menashe. So apparently Menashe had a grandson whose name was Badan, nothing to do with this guy, just the fact is that it's a real name and it's not like a funky way to say that he came from Shevetzan. Anyway, yeah, so those are the ideas of Badan. The Targum Shivim, by the way, says, you're not going to like this, I don't like it. They're going to say Badan is like Barak with Devorah, because the Dalid and the Resh are interchangeable. It's a known phenomenon. But yeah, I know. I mean, it just seems that, oh yeah, that's what you're reading somewhere there? Yeah.
The reincarnation. Shimshon was a reincarnation of Nadav and Abihu. I think the Badan rearranged letters.
Right.
Nadav.
Wow, that's strange.
Yeah.
Yes, no, that's why I thought you were saying. this
Yeah.
with the
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
rock.
Anyway.
Oh, that's even more.
Yeah.
So what's going on here is so Vayishlach Hashem et Yerubal ve'et Badan ve'yiftach. Okay, so it seems like he's listing like nobodies, like not very successful leaders. I don't know, but then ve'et Shmuel. But then he's saying, so this just goes to the little bit of the introduction of how I started, that parts of this speech are kind of mixed up. Like, why is he talking about himself? Also, why is he listing himself with Yiftach and Badan and Yerubal? Because he wasn't a shofet, he was, right? This is kind of weird stuff. Anyway, so this speech is filled with unclear and problematic expressions. And that's how Amnon Bazak just categorizes this Badan guy. Like, I don't know. Maybe, I don't know. He just doesn't make any, just let it be categorized under that. It doesn't really make much sense. Is there anything else?
Sometimes when you speak, that you can like kind of go off tangent.
Yes,
You know?
for sure. Because it never happens to
Never.
us ever. We're always, but also we're not speaking in front of millions of people and saying goodbye. So, if you were
Emotional.
if you were making a speech of that sort, chances are we would write it down, but that's okay. Anyway, but Tiruki Nachash Melch Bnei Aman. Okay, so now he's pretty recent, current now, because this just happened in Perek Aleph. He said Nachash, the king of Ammon, came and scared the out of all of us, right? And that's really why you wanted a king in a big way, because you were really, really scared of this enemy. So because of Nachash and that huge threat, and we were so scared of him. So here's the king that you chose, that you requested, that Hashem gave you. Yudalat im tiru et Hashem v'avadatem oto shmatem b'kolo v'lo tamru et pi Hashem vayitem gamatem gamlam. Do you see that he has this clause, if you, but he doesn't finish his clause. He doesn't say if you, right? He doesn't. This again is going to, his speech is unclear and problematic, right? If you fear Hashem, ba'adatem otam, and you, right? V'shamatem b'kolo v'lo tamru et pi Hashem v'yitem gamatem v'gam hamelach asher malach b'yechem, right? He doesn't end his thought. Ugh. Okay, this is going to Amnon Bazak's theory that he was just emotional and okay. Ve'im lo tishma'u b'kol Hashem umritem et pi Hashem v'hayta yad Hashem b'chem u'ba'avotechem. Okay, here's another oops. Do you see what he did here? In Pasuk 15, he says, but if you will not hearken to the voice of Hashem and you will rebel against the commandments of the Hashem, will be against you and against your fathers. I think what he's doing here is that because he was talking about avotechem in the speech, like he's talking about that your fathers with Yaakov and were in Egypt, right? He said avotechem. I didn't highlight it to you. I should have when I read it to you, but he said avotechem. Look quickly in Pasuk Chet. Kasher ba Yaakov Mitzrayim v'zaku avotechem El Hashem, right? When we were in Egypt as slaves and our fathers called out to Hashem, right? You see that? I think because he used the word avotechem, now he doesn't mean to say avotechem, but he just says avotechem, and Hashem's going to be against you and your fathers are dead. What are you talking? Do you understand the mistake, right? But I'm just trying to explain where where that mistake might have come from, just because he said Avotechem a few times in his little historical background. Yes? Yes, you're with me? Okay. Okay, because here it's meaningless, about the fathers. It shouldn't be against your king. That's up to say, Vayitza Yad Hashem Bachem and B'Yad HaMelech that you pointed, but yes? Okay, all right, it bothered me, I guess, more than it's bothering you, it really bothered me. Now what's gonna happen is, in a few psukim, he's gonna repeat the word ki 4 times. Okay, so then he's continuing his speech. So stand and see the